Perhaps the most dramatic rituals associated with Tano are the possession ceremonies, where the deity temporarily inhabits the bodies of trained priests or priestesses. These events typically occur during festival periods or times of community crisis, when direct divine guidance is sought. The possession ritual begins with drumming, dancing, and singing specific rhythms and melodies known to please Tano. As the ceremony intensifies, the Komfo enters an altered state of consciousness, their behavior and voice changing dramatically as the deity takes control of their faculties. While possessed, the priest or priestess may perform seemingly impossible feats, handling fire without burning, predicting future events, diagnosing hidden illnesses, or revealing secret misdeeds. They may also deliver messages from Tano, including instructions for community welfare, warnings about impending dangers, or requirements for propitiation. Those who have witnessed these possession ceremonies often report that the possessed person's voice, mannerisms, and knowledge change completely, speaking with authority on matters beyond their ordinary capabilities, and sometimes using archaic language or specialized ritual vocabulary associated with Tano. Major celebrations honoring Tano occur annually, typically coinciding with seasonal transitions or commemorating significant historical events associated with the deity. The Apo Festival, celebrated in some Akan communities, marks the beginning of the yam harvest and features elaborate ceremonies thanking Tano for agricultural bounty. During this festival, the river deity receives the first fruits of the harvest before any community member partakes. Another significant celebration is the Aboa Kiera festival, where hunting parties compete to capture a live deer without weapons, a feat believed possible only through Tano's blessing. The captured animal is presented at the deity's shrine as a demonstration of his continuing favor toward the community. These festivals typically span several days, incorporating multiple ritual elements, purification ceremonies, processions to the river, all-night drumming sessions, public divination, communal meals, and renewal of community covenants with the deity. They serve not merely as religious observances, but as occasions reinforcing social cohesion, cultural identity, and historical memory. Tano in history. Beyond his spiritual functions, Tano has played significant roles in the political history of the Akan peoples. Royal legitimacy and state power. Many traditional Akan states incorporated Tano worship into their political structures, with rulers deriving legitimacy partly through their relationship with the deity. The Asantehene, king of the Ashanti, historically underwent rituals involving Tano as part of his installation, receiving divine sanction for his reign. State decisions, particularly declarations of war or significant policy changes, often required consultation with Tano through his priests. Unfavorable oracles could delay or prevent royal initiatives, demonstrating the check on political power that religious authorities sometimes provided. Royal regalia frequently incorporated elements associated with Tano: golden ornaments shaped like river creatures, swords ritually dipped in his waters, or staffs adorned with symbols representing his power. These items physically manifested the connection between political and spiritual authority. Resistance and alternative authority. During periods of political upheaval, Tano shrines sometimes functioned as centers of resistance against oppressive rulers or foreign invaders. The spiritual authority of Tano Komfo occasionally challenged the temporal power of chiefs or kings, particularly when the latter were perceived as governing unjustly. During the colonial era, when traditional political structures were suppressed or co-opted by European powers, Tano worship provided alternative frameworks for community identity and resistance. Colonial authorities frequently misunderstood or deliberately undermined river deity veneration, recognizing its potential as a rallying point for indigenous opposition. Some historical resistance movements explicitly invoked Tano's protection, with rebel leaders claiming divine sanction through the river deity. Water from Tano's river was used in preparing war medicine believed to render fighters invisible or invulnerable to colonial weapons, a spiritual technology supporting physical resistance. The traditional veneration of Tano incorporates sophisticated environmental ethics that long predated modern conservation concepts. Sacred ecological zones areas surrounding Tano's river, particularly its source, and certain bends or pools, are designated as sacred groves where farming, hunting, and timber harvesting are strictly prohibited. These protected zones effectively function as ecological preserves, maintaining biodiversity and ecosystem services. The taboo against fishing on Mondays creates a regular rest period, allowing fish populations to regenerate. An indigenous sustainability practice, preventing overexploitation. Similarly, restrictions on farming near riverbanks protect against erosion and water contamination. Ritual specialists monitor water quality and river health through both physical observation and spiritual divination, identifying problems and prescribing ceremonial interventions when the river's well-being appears compromised. This spiritual framework creates practical environmental stewardship embedded within religious observance. Today, Tano's river faces unprecedented threats from illegal mining, galamsey, industrial pollution, deforestation, and climate change. These challenges have prompted innovative responses from traditional religious authorities working alongside environmental activists. Some Tano priests have become outspoken environmental advocates, framing river protection in both spiritual and scientific terms. They organize river cleaning ceremonies, combining ritual elements with practical conservation work, engaging both traditional believers and modern environmentalists. Conservation organizations increasingly recognize the value of partnering with traditional religious leaders, acknowledging that spiritual reverence for waterways can motivate community-based environmental protection more effectively than abstract scientific arguments alone. While Christianity and Islam have become numerically dominant in Ghana, complex religious identities allow many people to simultaneously honor Tano, while identifying as Christians or Muslims. This religious fluidity frustrates neat categorizations, but reflects pragmatic approaches to spirituality focused on well-being rather than exclusive theological claims. Some Christian denominations, particularly African-initiated churches, incorporate elements reminiscent of traditional river veneration into their practices. Prayer with blessed water, healing streams on church properties, or white clothing on specific days. These syncretic adaptations preserve aspects of Tano worship within nominally Christian frameworks. More conservative Christian and Islamic authorities continue to condemn Tano veneration as idolatry, creating tensions in communities with mixed religious affiliations. Nevertheless, many families maintain what might be called religious diplomacy, with different members openly practicing different traditions while maintaining family cohesion. Throughout the Americas, particularly in Brazil, Cuba, Trinidad, and Haiti, religious traditions with West African roots maintain veneration of water deities cognate with Tano. These diaspora traditions, including Candomblé, Santeria, and Vodou, preserved core spiritual concepts despite the traumatic disruption of the transatlantic slave trade. Contemporary interest in reclaiming African spiritual heritage has led some African Americans to establish direct connections with Tano shrines in Ghana, seeking to rebuild religious traditions fractured by historical displacement. This spiritual reconnection accompanies a broader interest in African cultural heritage and identity. Some traditional priests from Ghana now travel internationally, conducting seminars and ceremonies for diaspora communities, seeking to revitalize awareness of deities like Tano. These transnational religious connections create new networks of ritual knowledge exchange while adapting ancient practices to diverse cultural contexts. Tano's wisdom for contemporary challenges. What might this ancient river deity offer to a world facing unprecedented water crises, environmental degradation, and spiritual disconnection? First, Tano's tradition provides a model of relating to water not merely as a resource, but as a relationship. In an era when water is increasingly commodified, privatized, and polluted, the concept of rivers as living divine beings worthy of respect challenges extractive attitudes toward natural systems. Second, the healing emphasis in Tano worship reminds us of water's fundamental connection to health and well-being. As modern medicine increasingly recognizes the importance of clean water for public health, traditional reverence for water purity finds scientific validation, though approached through different conceptual frameworks. Third, Tano's role in justice and oath-taking speaks to the importance of truth and accountability in community relations. In our post-truth era, the concept that falsehood carries intrinsic consequences offers a powerful counter-narrative to cynical manipulations of fact. Finally, as climate change disrupts rainfall patterns and water availability worldwide, Tano's tradition offers psychological and spiritual resources for responding to hydrological uncertainty, frameworks for interpreting changing water conditions, and maintaining hope through ritual engagement rather than passive fatalism. We began our journey with the flowing waters of the Tano River, discovering not merely a waterway, but a divine presence that has shaped Akan spiritual life for countless generations. From healing rituals to political legitimacy, from environmental protection to justice enforcement, Tano's influence extends far beyond his riverbanks into nearly every aspect of traditional community life. Today, as Ghana and other African nations navigate complex intersections of tradition and modernity, Tano continues to flow, both physically in his river and spiritually in the practices of those who maintain relationships with this ancient deity. Even as new religions have gained numerical dominance and technological development transforms landscapes, the essential current of Tano worship persists, adapting to changed circumstances while maintaining core spiritual insights. Perhaps the most profound lesson from Tano's tradition is that water is never merely H2O, a resource to be measured, allocated, and exploited. Water is relationship, identity, medicine, justice, and divine presence. In a world where water increasingly becomes a focus of conflict and crisis, this perspective offers not merely cultural interest, but vital wisdom for sustainable relationships with our most precious resource. Next time you stand beside a river, perhaps pause to consider the Akan perspective, that you might be in the presence not just of flowing molecules, but of consciousness, wisdom, and divine power worthy of reverence and respect. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Tano, the divine river spirit of the Akan people. If you enjoyed this journey into African spirituality, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, may your path flow like the sacred waters of Tano, with purpose, power, and divine connection. I bless you all.